Oh, hello, is this thing on? Hello, oh, there I am. Hello, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Snooky Ookums. It's been a very long time since I've seen you, yes, but I'm so excited. I was asked to read this book, Adventures According to Humphrey. Yes, I heard one school, one book, everyone reads. Very, very fun, very exciting. You have very great teachers and principal there at your school. Here we go. Chapter 11. All at sea. Ahoy, mateys! I squeaked toward shore, even though I knew no one could hear me. Then, in my best pirate voice, I added, Arg! My friends were cheering wildly when suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something dark in the water. For an instant, I remembered a report on sharks that Art had read to the class. Eek! Then I recognized the shape of Richie's submarine gliding through the water, heading straight for me. Suddenly, the submarine began to surface. Richie had said it was supposed to come up next to the boat, but it was heading directly for me. I wasn't the only one who noticed as I heard voices everywhere. It's a submarine! Where'd that come from? Richie's in the bushes and he has remote control. It's going to hit the boat. Eek! 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 That's when I heard, repeat it please, Richie's voice. What? He asked. AJ's voice was loud and clear. It's going to hit the boat. And Humphrey's on it. Humphrey! Richie sounded shocked. Do something, Richie! Mandy screamed. I'm trying, he shouted back. I could see people running around the shore, but I was hanging on for dear life and didn't have time to pay much attention to them. Just then, the submarine hit the sailboat, tilted sharply to one side. Luckily, I managed to hang on to the bow of the boat, or else I would have slid into the water. Certain disaster. I'm sure Richie didn't mean to hit the ship. Maybe he wasn't as good at handling a submarine as he thought. On shore, my friends were in a panic. Save him! Save Humphrey! They screamed. Save me! I squeaked as the boat rocked and rolled. Whose sub is it? Miss Brisbane called. I'd never heard her voice so alarmed. Mine! Richie answered. I'm backing it away. Screech! I don't know what Mrs. Wright thought the whistle would do to help me, but she blew it over and over and over and over again. And then the boat tipped all the way over on its side, the sails floating next to it in the water. My friends all shrieked, Humphrey! Eek! I squeaked. I suddenly wished Og was around to help me out. I hung on to the side for dear life, but the water was getting closer, and believe me, it was too close for comfort. We're going down, I squeaked, although I was actually the only one going down. I remembered Mrs. Morales saying the pond was shallow, but for a hamster it would surely be deep, deep, deep. I tried not to think about the little sunken ship at the bottom of Mr. Fitch's fish tank. I also recalled Mrs. Brisbane warning about hamsters getting wet. I wasn't sure whether I could swim or not, but I didn't want to find out. Just then, I saw the long periscope of Richie's submarine next to me. I took a deep breath and leaped across the water to grab hold of it. All those hours of jumping on my wheel and spinning had certainly paid off. Now he's hanging onto the periscope. That was AJ shouting, Look! There were cheers from the shore, but I wasn't about to cheer until I reached dry land. I was clinging to the periscope for dear life when the beautiful tall ship dropped down below the edge of the water. Mrs. Brisbane shouted at Richie, Can you bring it safely? I can do it, he answered. No hamster ever hung on to anything as tightly as I hung on to that periscope. The water was only inches below me. I wouldn't have minded being a googly-eyed green frog with no fur at all, at least for a few moments. But soon the submarine glided towards me. Without hesitation, Richie and Kirk both waded out to rescue me. They didn't even worry about their clothes getting wet. Luckily, Mrs. Morales was right. The water in Potter's Pond was shallow, at least to humans. Hurry, said Kirk. It's going to sink. Okay, but watch it, Richie replied as they approached the submarine. We don't want to splash water on Humphrey. Richie gently plucked me off the periscope and held me in his cupped hands. Sorry, Humphrey, he said softly. I'm so sorry. I was shivering as he carefully carried me to shore and handed me to Miss Brisbane. You're shaking, she said, and she was right. She opened the lid of a small woven basket and took out a pile of colorful ribbons. You'll be safe in here, she told me. Golden Miranda brought me a little cup of water to drink. Nice. This is strictly against the rules, Mrs. Wright insisted. I demand an explanation. Yes, please tell us what happened, Richie, Miss Brisbane said in a very, very, very mad voice. I can't believe Humphrey was on board, he said. How'd he get there? That was a question only I could answer. We'll figure that out, Mrs. Brisbane said. But why did you sink your own ship? I didn't mean to sink it, Richie protested. I believed him. I just wanted to show Kirk I know about boats, too. Mrs. Brisbane turned to Kirk. Do you know what he means? Kirk shrugged. I guess he didn't think I let him help enough. Oh, didn't let me help at all, Richie said. What he said was true. Mrs. Brisbane turned to Kirk again. Why didn't you let Richie help? Kirk, who was always cracking jokes, looked very serious. I wanted to win. I thought we had a better chance if I did the work. So whose fault was it that Humphrey almost drowned? The teacher asked. Whoa! Hearing her say that made me shake and quake. Mine, Richie answered. But I wouldn't want anything to happen to Humphrey. It was your fault, Richie, Miss Brisbane nodded. Don't you agree, Kirk? Kirk stared at the ground and didn't answer right away. Finally he said, yes, but I guess it was kind of my fault too, because I made Richie mad. Winning wouldn't have been worth it if something had happened to Humphrey. I'm sorry. Well, don't apologize to me, Miss Brisbane said. She sounded very upset. Kirk looked at Richie. Sorry, Richie. I wasn't very nice to you. I'm sorry, too. Richie looked embarrassed. It was a dumb idea to bring a submarine. I was just so mad. The next thing I want to know is who put Humphrey in that boat, Miss Brisbane said, but I'll deal with that later. Right now, it's time for our treasure hunt. My classmates and I squealed with delight when Mr. Brisbane passed out treasure maps. My guess about tree from the list was right. He said, boys and girls, it's said that the famous pirate Captain Kidd buried his treasure right here by Potter's Pond. So that's who the captain was, Captain Kidd. Follow these old maps to find the hidden treasure. Mr. Brisbane explained. Remember, X marks the spot. My friends set off among the paths and trees looking for clues. I longed to join them, but I'd had enough adventure for one day, so I watched and listened. It wasn't too long before I heard Mandy shout, I found it! The X is right here! There were a rush of footsteps. Mrs. Brisbane picked up my basket and said, come on, Humphrey, you might as well see this too. She carried me to a little clearing where Mandy, Art, and Tabitha stood by an old trunk that looked just like a pirate's treasure chest with a big X carved on top. She pushed my lid back so I could see better. Should we open it? Tabitha asked. They all agreed they would. But just then, as they tipped the lid open, 1, 2, 3 pirates leaped out of the bushes. My friends screamed at the sight of the strangers who lunged at the crowd. My heart was just about jumped out of my chest. I'd almost forgotten about the pirates. Arg, growled the first pirate. Avast, snarled the second pirate. The third pirate was even more menacing. Stop right there, mateys, he roared. Don't even be thinking of touching Captain Kidd's treasure. The three pirates stood in front of the treasure chest looking scary, 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 and mean, mean, mean. The first pirate had on a bright red shirt and a bright blue sash. He had dark hair, a big gold earring, and a patch over one eye. The second pirate wore shiny black pants, a long red coat, and big gold buttons, and a genuine pirate hat. At least it looked genuine to me. He also had big round glasses. Funny, I'd never seen a pirate with these glasses before. The third pirate had striped pants tucked into black boots, a black tunic and a belt, a kerchief on his head, and big black mustache.
Please.
Oh, hello, boys and girls. Missy Snooky Ookums, she got very tired, so she asked Mr. Snooky Ookums to get up from his slumber and help to continue to read chapter 11. We are going to continue. Ah, here we go. Landlubbers, he shouted in a familiar voice. Back off from me, treasure, or I'll introduce ye to Davy Jones. Oh, do you know Davy Jones? My friend screamed and backed up, but I could swear I'd seen that mustache before. Suddenly, Richie called out, "It's Uncle Aldo!" And the other students started to laugh and shriek. "It's Aldo!" they yelled. Of course it was Aldo. He'd been practicing being pirate for weeks. He gave a jolly laugh when they recognized him. But what about the others? The first pirate pushed up his eye patch, and it was Principal Morales. "Arg," he repeated, but this time he was smiling. My friends all squealed with laughter. The second pirate took off his hat and bowed us. "Greetings," he said, and we all recognized Mr. Fitch. That pirate hat in the library was his after all. "Be ye ready to unlock the secrets of the deep?" asked Aldo as he opened the lid. Inside were mounds of yummy sandwiches and juices and cookies. "Ooh, Mrs. Snooky Ookums, I could go for some sandwiches, please." "Oh, yes, please. Thank you." Oh, back to the book. Me friends acted as if they'd never seen food before. They screamed with delight as they hurried toward the chest. Seth and Tabitha got there first, but as soon as they put their hands on the food, another voice rang out. "How dare you touch my treasure?" This was definitely a female voice. "Stop, or the lot of ye will end up asleep in the deep." Everyone gasped, including me, as out of the bushes stepped a female pirate. She had on tall boots, a red skirt, big gold hoop earrings, and a white top with billowy sleeves. Even with the pirate hat and the eye patch she wore, I could see her bouncy black curls, and I knew that voice. "The treasure came all the way from Brazil," she started, but my friends didn't let her finish. Miss Mac, they shouted with joy as they rushed toward to greet her. There she was, Miss Mac, the teacher who rescued me from Pet-O-Rama, who gave me a notebook and pencil and discovered what a handsome and smart hamster I was. Ah, like me, Mr. Snooky Ookums, smart and handsome. "Miss Mac is back!" I squeaked loudly, surprising even myself. Miss Mac hurried over to the basket. "Humphrey," she cried, "there's the real treasure." She gently scratched me back, and I had a funny feeling from the wiggly tip of her nose to the squiggly tip of me toes. I hadn't had this feeling before. I had way back when. I think they call it love, like I love Mrs. Snooky Ookums. All of me friends loved Miss Mac and wanted to be near her. They gave her sandwiches and juice and gathered around her. "What do you think of our secret guest?" Mrs. Brisbane asked us. Miss Mac was our greatest guest, a secret guest, so that's what they secret G on the list stood for. "Do you have to go back to Brazil?" Miranda asked. "No, my term ended," Miss Mac explained. "I'm here to stay if I can find a job." While everyone ate, Mr. Finch played the harmonica, and Aldo and Mrs. Morales danced the sailor's hornpipe. Aldo did a better job, but he'd had a lot of practice.